Hey YouTube, decided to make a quick video here on the noise that my G56 has been making ever since I put in a single mass flywheel clutch system. This is a common problem when removing the dual mass flywheel setup from the Rams. In this particular case, I thought the transmission was worse than it is, but after I replaced the a rebuilt unit that I picked up, I realized that the original one probably wasn't as bad as I thought. It's just a characteristic of the aluminum case. I did all this without jacking the vehicle up. I do later on in the video lift up the left front so that I can get the bell housing to clear with the transmission on the dolly. You don't want it too high off the ground anyway if you're doing this in your garage or your carport, so it makes it too hard to put any sort of jacks underneath it unless you've got a better jack than what I use. Now I didn't pull out the front drive shaft. I actually just disconnected it from the back. I started to take all the Torx bolts loose and I said, ah, heck with it. I just tied it up on the frame rail. It was good enough. With the 4 through bolts and the cross members still in place, all the weight is still being pushed down on the back of the transmission, so you'll want to support it so that you'll be able to take the cross member out. If you're tackling a transmission change, you probably are already used to this. So this is nothing new. One thing I will say is the center of gravity on the G56 is pretty much right where the rear case bolts up to the aluminum case of the G56, maybe about 4 inches forward of that split, where it centers up with the transfer case off, that is. The passenger side upper retaining bolt for the transfer case is really tough to get to. You can take some of the soundproofing off underneath the cab, gain access to it, or you can use a 90-degree 9/16 moon wrench. There's 6 of them. This unit's not too bad to take out. Two retaining bolts on the upholstery. 2 clips where it attaches to the front portion of it. This is a 2012 model Generation 4 Ram. The shifter is retained with two 13mm nuts, or half-inch. Then you can just pop the whole shifter back. Just like that. I don't have a lot of good footage about taking the transmission out. I have more going back in, believe it or not. It's kind of rare, but I kind of just show the transmission laying on the floor here coming up because I think I ran out of light. I did this on the weekend, started late afternoon on Saturday and finished up Sunday morning. Yep, here you just pull the transmission out just like that. Weighs about 250 pounds. Out with the old. This vehicle has, let's see, this one has 110,000 miles on it. Like I said, it probably did not need to be changed. The rattling was driving me nuts, so I thought something was wrong. Plus, I had some fuzz on the drain plug. In with the new, or rebuilt. I had to jack the vehicle up to get the new unit in. I go in from the driver's side. You don't see him here, but I did have a helper. Hard to lift 250 pounds laying down on the garage floor. This is one thing that I noticed a couple of the videos on YouTube are incorrect with. You do have a throwout release bearing that's got a groove for applying grease into, and that has to happen. I know you don't want grease on the splines, but you definitely want it on the slide tube inside of the groove of the release bearing. And like with any clutch installation, due diligence is required for the lining of the clutch using the tool. This one slid right in. Sometimes they can give you a fit. It's a pretty nice feature on the Val Air clutches. For the installation, I use a 9/16 ratcheting box end. Got right in there real easily. I looked everywhere for the clip and figured out it was corrupt. Here's the hard to lubricate front drive shaft cardan joint. Went ahead and lubed it since I had it off. I've gotten pretty good at doing that now. Every oil change I lube that cardan joint. No way to pour the fluid into the transfer case, so you have to use what I used is a pump from my outdrive from my boat. There's a lot of controversy on what fluids to use for the G56 installed on the Ram, but the manual, or the owner's manual, calls out servicing the G56 with ATF plus 4, which is I think the Dodge fluid, and so that's what I've been using. The only other fluid that Mercedes-Benz calls out for is a mobile product that I haven't been able to find. I know some of the forums have said Delevac Synthetic 50 is the direct replacement for it, but I'm getting a lot of mixed results about whether that is approved or not. So until something else changes, I'm going to use the ATF plus 4 and change it a lot. I did add a little bit more ATF though. I think I put in almost 6 quarts, about 5.5. And that about does it. Let's go for a ride. As you can see, really it's just as loud as the one that was coming out. So it should be good for another 100,000 miles. Just loud transmissions. That's what I have to get used to. little bit of whining that it didn't have on the original transmission. Not sure if it's that the synchronizers are breaking in, or I'm not sure what that is. I'm not a transmission guy at all, so, but you know, there's a whine third and fourth gear that I didn't have before, but it seems like it's mostly noticeable when it's cold. Main reason I bought this truck is that it was a manual transmission, and now it's the main reason I would like to have an automatic. It used to be the automatics were the problem childs, and now, thanks to the G56, the manual transmissions are the problem child. You know, I will say though, it's definitely quieter than it was. The one that I pulled out, you could hear inside of a Walmart. It was louder, so it's definitely quieter now. Except for that whine. There's a lot of moving parts on these Rams. I guess any vehicle with a solid axle has all this moving, but I think what I'm going to do next is have some hubs installed, locking hubs, so that some of this four-wheel drive stuff's not turning all the time. It seems to me like it would cause accelerated wear of U-joints, cardan joints, differential. That's going to be one of my next moves, is to install some locking hubs, Dynatrack preferably. that about does it. Took me 2 days to swap the transmission out. Me mainly doing it myself, with my son helping me for the heavy stuff. That's about it. It can be done in your garage. Saved about $800. Thanks for watching.